Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory as always unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakodash. Double honors into the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that rule well, and Shalom to you, Akim, to be pushing this word around the globe in faith and in truth with sincerity. As always, I'd like to begin by saying that we are the real Hebrew Israelites. The real Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, West Indians, West Africans, and so let me say it again. We are the real Hebrew Israelites, the real Israelites, here so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, West Indians, and West Africans predominantly. However, you are going to get Israelites that may look like the other nations, because Israel has been scattered amongst all people throughout our various captivities. But if your nationality, which is determined by the lineage of your forefathers, goes back to the man in the Bible named Israel, then you too are an Israelite, no matter what you may look like. Because pertaining to Numbers chapter 1 and verse 18, your lineage and your nationality is determined by the line of your forefathers, not your mothers. Okay? So, let me get into today's lesson. I was just watching this little news article earlier, which clearly states that NYC, meaning New York City, is dead forever. Author responds to Seinfeld, Jerry Seinfeld, the comedian. What does it say here? Don't know why he attacked me. Now, this is a very interesting article, or I should say a little debate, because this guy goes into why he thinks that New York City is destroyed and is never going to bounce back from this COVID-19 crisis. Now, what you have is the comedian Jerry Seinfeld, who, I'm just going to put this out there. Jerry Seinfeld is what would be called a so-called Jew. But through the spirit, personally, I'm leaning towards him being a Jake, because this Seinfeld guy is actually very funny. And, if you look at most so-called Jews, the fake Jews, Amalek, those guys aren't funny at all. They're awkward and they're just all kinds of off in the spirit. But Jerry Seinfeld, I remember I used to watch his show back in the day. Right in the 90s or whatever, when I was back in the world before I knew this truth. I used to enjoy it a lot. And I remember also recently I was watching one little documentary where they had Jerry Seinfeld and he was sitting there with Eddie Murphy. Now, as you all know, Eddie Murphy's clearly a Jake and very funny. And they were both on this little talk show, and they were both busting jokes and, riffing off each other. And I thought, you know what, man, there's no way in hell that one of those, an Edomite would be able to keep up on a comedy level with Eddie Murphy and not even break a sweat. So I'm just putting it out there. I might be wrong. All things will be revealed for the spirit, but I'm leaning towards Jerry Seinfeld being a Jake. But with that being said, he's basically getting a bit hurt because this guy's talking about how New York City's finished and it's done. And obviously Jerry Seinfeld, believing in, America being land of the free, home of the brave, and, believing in Babylon, doesn't want to see Babylon fall, so is in a bit of a denial mode about it. And it's very interesting. So, Lord willing, I'm going to play this article from Fox News. Hopefully I don't get a strike. But it's an interesting debate to listen to, and I'm going to get some scriptures and precepts afterwards. So I'm going to play this clip, okay?
New York City is dead forever. That is the title of a recent op-ed by author and entrepreneur James Altucher, who writes this, quote, "I love New York City. When I first moved to New York City, it was a dream come true. Now it's completely dead. But New York City always bounces back. No, not this time. But New York City is the center of the financial universe. Opportunities will flourish here again. No, not this time. New York City has experienced worse. No, it hasn't." Joining me right now is the author himself, James Altucher. James, thanks very much for being here. You are a longtime New Yorker, and you love this city, but you've left. Why do you think New York City is dead and won't come back?
Well, Maria, first off, thanks for having me on the show. Second, right now, there's a major problem. Tax revenues are going down. Deficits are going up. Something like a third or more of restaurants and small businesses might already be permanently closed in New York City. Apartment vacancies are at an all-time high, and they're going to get higher. Something like 1 in 4 residents have not been paying rent since March, and who knows, how many more vacancies there will be. And the city has already even said the deficits are so high they're going to have to start laying off critical employees like the EMTs who are frontline workers, teachers, police, garbage collectors, MTA workers. This is a serious problem. You can't run a city with your revenues going down and deficits going up and all the citizens leaving. And I haven't left permanently. I'm coming back. I have kids in school in the city. I want the city to recover, but I don't see how it physically happens when every business is closing and many citizens are leaving.
Dal, Jerry Seinfeld is taking you to task. The comedian is slamming you in the New York Times, writing this. You say New York will not bounce back this time. You will not bounce back in your enervated, pastel-filled new life in Florida. I hope you have a long, healthy run down there. I can't think of a more fitting retribution for your fine article. This stupid virus will give up eventually, the same way you have. We're going to keep going with New York City, if that's all right with you, and it sure will as hell. It will sure as hell come back. You're out with a new op-ed today with your response. What do you make of Jerry Seinfeld pushing back at you?
Well, I mean, I clearly he's, loves the city and is concerned about any criticism, but I don't know why he had to personally attack me. I live in New York City as a permanent resident, and I wanted to do well, but the facts are the facts. Again, apartment vacancies are at an all-time high, not temporary high. People have left permanently. People are moving companies. They can't even respond to all the calls. And office buildings are empty. Even though people are allowed to go back to the office, many companies are going remote permanently. That means declining taxes. The restaurant closings means declining tourism, which also means declining revenues for the city. Deficits, again, are going through the roof because of the virus, understandably. So I don't know why Seinfeld had to be personal in his attack, like he doesn't know me at all, but instead I'm focused on what could the solutions be, and let's look at the facts of what the problems are. The city is going in the direction of bankruptcy. They've already announced that on August 31st they're going to send out 22,000 pink slips for critical workers, police, MTA workers, EMTs, the people who are frontline on the virus. They're about to fire. And I don't know why Jerry is not more focused on that and instead has this arbitrary personal attack on me. I have a lot of respect for Jerry Seinfeld.
James, it's Dagen McDowell, and I've been here in New York City every day during the virus, during the unrest, during the looting, coming into work every day. And I'm angry. I'm angry because of the feckless leadership here in the city, a mayor who really doesn't seem to give a flying damn about anybody but himself, and then also just the general cost of being here. But I will say this, if you lower the cost of living here and you get rid of the mayor and some of the bureaucrats who have run the city into the ground, that's a quick comeback for New York.
Well, but that's a good point. But you can't really lower the cost of living so quickly. What's going to happen first is all the owners of all the buildings are going to go bankrupt. Once 10,000 restaurants go out of business, there's no restaurants that are going to immediately replace those tenants. The landlords and the owners of the buildings are going to go bankrupt. The restaurant owners are going to go bankrupt.
It's going to be a great washout in a lot of ways, but we're not chaos. We're not in favor of chaos nostalgia, as Kyle Smith wrote. We just want the days of a cheaper New York where we could go out and do things. Hey, James, it was great to see you. By the way, I think Jerry Seinfeld's been in the Hamptons the whole time, so I don't know what he's talking about. Just saying.
So there you have it. As you can see, these Edomites don't want to admit that their kingdom is crumbling when it evidently is. This guy's bringing out straight facts about how the deficit is too high and the cost of living is too high, and there's no attraction for tourism there anymore. Babylon is fallen. So let me get some precepts on that. Yeah, let me get Jeremiah 51 and verse 8. Alright, this is the book of Jeremiah 51 and verse 8, and it says, now let me go from up a bit. Yeah, let me go from Jeremiah 51 and 1. It says, thus saith Yahweh, behold, I will raise up against Babylon, and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me a destroying wind, and will send unto Babylon fanners, meaning missiles, and they shall fan her, and shall empty her land, for in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth up himself, and his brigandine, and spare ye not her young man, neither destroy ye utterly all her hosts. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through inner streets. For Israel hath not been forsaken, nor Judah of his power. For Yahweh of hosts, through the land, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Babylon hath been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of the wine, her wine thereof. Therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. Yahweh hath brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of Yahweh our power. Make bright the arrows. That's the nukes. The nukes are going to hit Babylon. Gather the shields, for Yahweh hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his devices against Babylon, to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Yahweh, the vengeance of his temple. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon. Make watch the strong. Set out the watchmen. Prepare the ambushes, for Yahweh hath devised and have done that which he spoke against the inhabitants of Babylon. Yeah. Let me jump to Revelation. Woe to them that dwell trust in Egypt. Let me get that. See if I can find it. Now let me jump to Revelation 14 and 8 first. It's Book of Revelation chapter 14 and verse 8. Let me read from 14 and verse 6 first. And it says, I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear the Most High, and give glory unto him. For the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. And there followed another angel, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city. So it's like it says, and there followed another great angel, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she has made all nations drink the wine of the wrath of her fornications. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast in his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Alright, so let me jump to the scripture I wanted about woe to them that trusted Egypt. This is Isaiah 31:1. It says, "Woe to them that go down to Egypt for help, and stay on horses and trust in chariots, because they are many, and horsemen, because they are very strong. But they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seeketh Yahweh." You know, so you can't trust in Babylon, in New York City, and thinking it's going to bounce back, because it ain't. It's Yahweh's purpose to destroy this place, and it's going down, man. There ain't no coming back from it. Let me get Revelation 6. Alright, with that, I want to give all praises and honor and glory unto Yahweh B'Shem Yahshua. I think I've made the point on that one. So, yeah, Babylon is fallen, man. This place is going down. All praises unto Yahweh B'Shem Yahshua, B'Shem HaKadosh. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Wa Abba Shalom.